Warning, this is breaking news. Justin Sun just got sued by the SEC. This is Around the Blockchain. Welcome to Around the Blockchain. Please go ahead and hit that like. Like I said, Justin Sun just got sued by the SEC. We're going to cover that. But first, we're going to look at the Fed rate hikes real quickly. And Coinbase selling off all of their stock from the CEO all the way down. And they just blocked a huge altcoin from getting their staking rewards. But first, let's get into the guests. What do we have? We have Vic Laranja today. Did I say that correctly? I know that I've asked that 3 times.
Laranja. I kind of like
Laranja.
go with the J. Yeah.
Okay. So we pronounce the J here. All right. And also we also have piano Matty B. Went from guitars to pianos, but now I just see a wheelchair. Piano Matty B. How are you doing today?
Awesome. Just kicking it up here in the People's Republic of Canada, trying to spread the good word on Bitcoin to a deaf peanut gallery, but I'm doing it. How are you?
Hey, I think we can break through and pierce the fog. I trust us. And then we also have William Laurent on today, and hey, he's still trying to change his PFP. So this is our PSA. Elon, help out William. William, how are you doing today?
Yeah, sorry, I thought you called on me first, but our last names are similar in pronunciation. I'm doing great, thanks. It's a beautiful day here in Miami Beach.
All right, gotta love it. All right, let's get right into the Fed rate hikes. It looks like they just announced it's a 25 basis points. The prediction markets were coming in about 80% probability. So yet again, the prediction markets nailed it. There's an ongoing battle between inflation and the recent banking crisis. Originally, a lot of people are looking at 50 basis points, but then as we saw these regional banks collapse, a lot more people saying they either need to pause it entirely or reduce it by half to 25 basis points. Jerome Powell, he had some remarks. Inflation still remains, and the U.S. banking and economic stance, guys, it's okay. It remains strong and resilient. Vic Laranja, what do you think of that particular statement? Strong and resilient. I'm looking back in the rear view over the past 2 weeks. That's not what I'm seeing. What are you seeing?
I mean, define strong and resilient for me. When I think of something that's strong and resilient, I don't think of over 600, 600 billion or in losses that the banking industry has been accrued over the past couple of years. So, I mean, that's not strong and resilient when you have to go turn on the money printer and essentially lie to the public and say, hey, public, you're not going to pay the bill, but you are. It's just such a mess. And I think right now the Fed is just trying to save face, and it's more about public opinion. It's more about confidence in the society and the structure of the banking system than anything else right now, because they know that banking is a game of confidence. If they don't have people keeping their money in their accounts, it's complete chaos, which we've seen over the last week. But I really feel like, since these elites, they own the media, it didn't get to the point where everyone was finding out about it. I usually use my dad as kind of a gauge if the media is really pushing an agenda or not, because he's like really into just watching the news and stuff, where I am not. So I was kind of asking him, like, what do you think of these banks and the bank runs? And he's like, oh, I haven't really heard that much about it. And I'm like, okay, well, they're kind of suppressing that. Obviously, they don't want bank runs to go out of control. But I really feel like this Fed rate hike being exactly what everyone expected, just the most conservative thing. They couldn't do nothing. They couldn't do zero because that would just be too suspicious. And they also couldn't do what they actually needed to do, which was raise rates, because they just printed 300 Bs. So that's what happens. You got to raise rates.
It's a whole lot of honeycombs there. And yeah, we're seeing screenshots of potentially they're suppressing this on social media. I don't know, the legitimacy of any of this, but it stands to reason, well, maybe they would do the same with traditional media and don't want to panic the boomers into, trying to withdraw $20K from Bank of America. Well, Piano Matty B, I want to ask you more about the trading side of this and the TA side. I know a lot of traders, they love the days when Jerome Powell speaks, especially Bitcoin traders. Were you expecting more of a movement since it came in at 25 instead of 50 basis points? How did the market react to you? Did it fall in line with your expectations?
More or less. I mean, when these things happen, it's more like a knee-jerk robot quant bot mess, right? All the noise, if this, then that.
Yeah,
if
that's
this,
that's
then
actually
that.
say that one more time. Knee jerk. What was that?
Knee-jerk robot quant bot mess.
That sounds like that first two 1 minute candles right after the remarks.
That's right. And it just like I'm looking at the 4 hour now, and it went down, it touched the 50 moving average, and now it's trying to come back to the 38.2% retracement level. I think that's where it's kind of got to be. But I mean, I do think we may revisit 25, which is on the 200 moving average on the weekly. If we see more bearish momentum, we might pop out. I still think 28 is the new, reversion mean, but I don't trade these things. This is, to me, it's like when you're new to trading, this seems like the craziest show in the world. Let's trade the FOMC
it's
meeting.
catnip.
Right?
Yeah, it's catnip for the trader.
But when you've done it long enough, you realize unless you can get really good at those, like the stop limits, like if this then that, the buy then sell things. But it's really just you don't want to turn your nice discipline into just like a Haitian casino, right?
All right. Good description. I need to go to a Haitian casino. Shout out to the
No, you
Bitcoin
don't.
cruise. Okay. All right. Maybe I don't. All right. Well, William, what do you expect the markets to do once we finally come in with a pause on rate hikes, or maybe even a reduction? Because we have just been continuously adding and adding and adding. In fact, over a 12-month period, the highest rate of increase ever in recorded history. What are the markets going to do when it finally comes in as zero or reducing?
Yeah, I'm going to preface this also with something that I think a lot of people don't realize. We had Signature Bank, we had SVB. Those are, if we look at the three biggest bank collapses in the history of the United States, they join Washington Mutual as the top three. So it's pretty big news. I think look, I think we'll see a little bit of relief when the rates stop going up. I predicted on ATB last year, I think it was December, that we were going to go to 6, and you all looked at me like I was crazy. I think we'll see some relief. It will pave the way for the next bull, but we won't have liftoff this year or even next year. I think the crypto markets have bigger issues in the form of regulation. And I'm going to go again full conspiracy theory today. I think we have black swan events that are coming down the pike. Global political situation, starting with Ukraine. We're going to see more of a push this spring and summer from Russia into the Ukraine. They tried cutting off everyone's electricity. It wasn't good enough. The next thing they're going to do is cut off all exports out of Ukraine, cut off all imports. We haven't reached a ceasefire. So you're going to see the Russians throw a lot more manpower. That situation, Ukraine is going to blow up. So I'm looking at, I'm looking at what the Fed's going to do. I think we're going to go to 6 and pull back. But I'm also looking at these geopolitical, macro situations here that are going to impact us more over the next, I would say, 12 to 24 months.
William, I want to follow up on just a quick question here. Do you think that the recent deal between Russia and China using a digital yuan for their trade, has that emboldened Russia specifically with the Ukraine war?
Yeah, I mean, Russia is looking for any chance to be emboldened right now. I think that that deal was with Iran, I believe was part of that too, and Brazil and a couple other nations. So I don't know necessarily if it was emboldened, but it was definitely a warning shot over the bow of the U.S. is that dollar hegemony is going to go away. That petrodollar is going to disappear. It's taking a lot longer than we all thought, but this is just one more step forward for that inevitability, which could be in a year, it could be in 20 years. I don't know.
Yeah, and I remember watching the Ray Dalio video where he goes over the history of money probably a year or two ago, and remember thinking, oh, wow, it's going to be a really rough 10 to 20 years as we transition away from the hegemony of the globe. Now, to your point, hey, who knows what the next 1 or 2 years are going to look like? So it's an interesting time period to be an American citizen, I'll say. All right, well, let's talk about, speaking of some American citizens, how about those Coinbase C-suite employees? Talking about Brian Armstrong and some of the others. They haven't really sold, Brian specifically, hasn't sold any Coinbase stock since opening day, pulled in a lot of money. Well, recently, they have sold $7.5 million of stocks in the last 30 days. Brian Armstrong sold about 90,000 shares in the last 30 days for $5.8 million here, 50% of which is in just the last 24 hours there. 5.8 billion from that. 5 billion was what they actually made the first day they went public. They pulled in 5.8 billion or 5 billion altogether that first day. 5.8 for the entirety of the trading. So huge, significant portion coming in just on that first day of trading. They also released some bad news for Algorand fans. They just discontinued their staking rewards. Now, Vic, I want to ask you about the staking reward angle here. Do you think that this is coming down? Well, we see regulation. You know, they're shining a light through our windows. I'm just trying to take a shower in peace. Are they worried about federal regulators coming in and knocking on their door with some subpoenas? Are they getting ahead of the curve? Or can we expect maybe subpoenas to still be rolled out despite them discontinuing the program?
It's pretty clear that 2023 now is just the year of fear of regulation. Like, we don't know who's going to get sued next. We don't know what's going to get slapped as a security next. Like, it's just fair game. It feels like we're playing duck hunt, and Gary Gensler's got the controller, and he's just picking us out of the sky, right? Like, it's anyone is fair game at this point. And we learned that with Kraken, and now we're learning that with Justin Sun, right? There's going to be lawsuits flying left, right, because they want to strike fear into our creative community, the community of builders that are people who want to revolutionize how we create wealth with each other, how we develop new DeFi protocols and new NFT projects and different exchange platforms. They just want us to be afraid, and they want to hinder the innovation because of probably the CBDC, probably. But it's I think Coinbase has a sniff of this. Definitely. These are big players. Like, they definitely have information that we don't have. And, Kathy Wood too. She just dumped a bunch of coin. So these people are big players. They, again, have information that we don't necessarily have access to. So do I know for a fact if this is fear of regulation? No, definitely not. Do I have a strong assumption? Like, look around. Everyone's getting picked off. So yeah, I think that makes sense.
All right. Well, Piano, back to the trading. I want to ask you about Coins stock. It's had pretty dramatic price action over the past 18 months or so. Do you think now is an attractive time to short, given they've over doubled year to date? They have the CEO selling massive amounts of the stock right now. Is this looking like a juicy short opportunity, or is that moment too late? Should we got that in weeks ago?
Oh yeah, like by the time we're hearing about all the C-suite dumping their stock, it's the worst time. This is when they want you. Like, this is the biggest trap you can have, and the fact that they're all coordinated one by one selling it, and then Kathy Woods is like, I guess it's just a massive coincidence that they all sold at this time, and I think it's maybe a canary in the coal mine of what's going to happen regulation wise, and aren't they moving to Brazil or something like that? I don't think it's going to fare well with anything in America for the next, I don't know, maybe till the next all-time high, and then everyone will come rushing back and love crypto, right?
All right, getting pretty bearish. I can only imagine Brian Armstrong, he's going to have to put a lot of SBF on top of that head. I'm sure that Brazilian sun is going to cook him alive. Well, William, you're in Miami, so you know about being cooked alive here. Are you feeling as fearful as the previous guests? They're painting a pretty dire picture. They see regulation coming. I almost feel like Brian Armstrong's currently putting on a parachute. Is it that drastic, or are we maybe looking too much into this? After all, he hasn't sold in over a year.
So I'm going to piggyback off Vic's fear sentiment, right? Look what happened. I'm going to go back to Signature Bank because I think it's a good beacon. Signature Bank, yeah, Barney Frank sits on the board of Signature Bank. He has been very candid in saying the bank was not insolvent, and this bank was specifically targeted because it was seen as a crypto bank. When you start digging into it, you start uncovering this, right? Look what happened under the Obama administration, where firearms manufacturers and payday loan operations were basically, they're not legislated out of business, but they made it very difficult for them to be properly serviced by the traditional financial system, right? Same thing is happening now in the last two administrations with the cannabis industry, where banks are scared to deal with the industry. Even though cannabis is legal in those states where those banks are doing business, they're still worried about regulators, right? So, looking at how things could be going right now, I think that, yeah, you have Keno mentioned the Brazil angle for Coinbase. They're looking at options that are not U.S. based. So I think that this scenario is all playing out as a long term a long-term game, right? You have insiders dumping, you have them looking at other jurisdictions to set up business in, because we don't know what's coming down the pike, but we're all scared, and that's intentional.
All right. Yeah, I tend to agree. Yeah, it's intentional, is working as intended. But I think it was to Vic. He brought up the point, and maybe it hasn't hit mainstream. So, maybe we could squeak by without too much of a obvious contagion or obvious, fear, because only thing you have to fear is fear itself. All right. Well, you might also have some to fear if you're holding a big bag of Tron. Sorry, Tron holders. I know all the people, holding TRX are not quite happy with that, but let's do a little bit of a history. Tron, a very, very old cryptocurrency, one of the oldest ones that's still around, founded by Justin Sun. Justin Sun has a pretty interesting background himself. He went to Peking University in China. It's probably the most prestigious school in all of China. We're talking about a country with $1.3 billion. It's top, maybe, right up there with Beijing University. So a top 1 or 2 school in the entire country. Then came to America and went to Wharton Business School, also a top 2 or 3 business school in all of America, both, former presidents and the like. He then went from that to gaming marketplaces. I can't remember if it was World of Warcraft, RuneScape, but he was one of the first people to have an online marketplace for gaming accounts. After that, 2013, chief representative for Ripple in China. Again, $1.3 billion, chief representative. 2014, Forbes 30 under 30 for the tech sector there. Big credentials there. A lot of people looked at him as a very sophisticated trader. I know I've joked, if you want to make some good money, just follow Justin Sun's wallet when it comes to, getting in and out of ETH and getting in and out of Bitcoin into stable coins. So allegations here. Let's share this screen right here. Now to today. SEC sues Justin Sun for his crypto schemes, along with Lindsay Lohan, Jake Paul, and Soulja Boy. Here, let's scroll down. I want to make sure right here. In addition to Lindsay Lohan, Logan Paul, Soulja Boy, they also charge Austin Mahone, Michelle Mason, Lil Yachty, Neo, and Akon. The SEC says all the involved celebrities, except for Mahone and Soulja Boy, have settled the charges. Soulja Boy, what are you doing? You're not Superman. You can't fight the SEC. Go ahead and settle those charges. Drop an NFT. Do something, man. You better hurry up. So right now, they're press release suing Sun, Tron Foundation, BitTorrent Foundation, and BitTorrent over the sale of Tron and BitTorrent tokens. Describe them as unregistered crypto asset securities. Now, Vic, this seems to have come out of nowhere. What do you think put Justin on the SEC radar? Is there something behind the scenes that, maybe a story that's not being told and why they're investigating him?
Got to be honest, my knowledge on Justin Sun isn't enormous, but like the one thing that I can see the link between him and the SEC might be how he made some pretty big statements when FTX was collapsing. If I can remember correctly, he was saying like he wanted to buy them, or I can't remember exactly, but that's the only connection I can think of, because I know Gensler was in deep with the FTX crowd, SBF. I know they were kind of in bed together from what I heard on the conspiracy streets. But I want to touch on these influencers because, like, obviously I make crypto content. You make crypto content. We all make crypto content.
Let's look at this tweet as a lead-in. Lohan and Lil Yachty got 10K. Neo got 12K. And somehow Jake Paul got 25K for retweeting Lil Yachty. If I was Lil Yachty, I'd be mad, LOL. He didn't get the broccoli.
So I think, like, the problem there is that these celebrities are not disclosing that they're promoting a financial asset, which is like totally illegal. It's illegal even if it's not a financial asset. Like, I don't know if you've seen that Fire Festival movie where they all promoted that big scam concert with Ja Rule, and it's a crazy documentary. But all those influencers, those Instagram influencers, they basically created this scenario where they had to make a law because none of them disclosed that it was an advertisement. So, if you're doing ads, always disclose it, because this stuff it's just straight up against the law. So that lawsuit to me makes sense on them. Now, coming after Justin Sun for securities, again, this is Gensler's game. He said it himself. Everything except for Bitcoin is a security. Literally came out of his mouth like 2 weeks ago. So it's just not a surprise to me either that he's going to be gunning everyone down. He's going to be hitting everyone with a lawsuit because he can. SEC is just really just a bunch of legal, like a big legal team. They just sue whoever they want, right? Doesn't cost them anything really. So it's duck hunt season for Gensler. I'm sticking with that.
And who would have thought it was all going to be Ja Rule's fault there? You know, what would it be without you? Tent, water, food. That's the fire festival
without Ja Rule, right?
You know,
what would this all be without Ja Rule?
What would I be without porta potties at the music fest? All right. Well, Piano Matty B, let's look at Tron's price here. You know, a lot of people are saying, well, this is the final nail in the coffin. This is the 1 day chart. I've seen worse 1 day charts. This is the 1 month chart. A suspiciously similar drop happened days ago. I don't know if that's inside information or not. That's where I'm leaning, just without knowing anything. And then I look at the all-time price chart. Okay, I see a little bit of life here. You know, I'm seeing higher lows during this bear market compared to that bear market. Is Tron dead? Is there a second life coming? I mean, can Soulja Boy, you know, take this to the promised land?
I wouldn't think it's dead. I mean, I really don't believe that he's going to get sued by the SEC because isn't the SEC super busy suing Nancy Pelosi and her gay kinky husband over all their insider trading? Like that's got to be where they're putting all their energy. And don't they have like $2 billion on the payroll to get criminals like Nancy Pelosi and her gay kinky husband in jail? And once that's happened, that's going to take years, DZ, right? But once they're in jail, they'll forget about Justin Sun. And with with the way you described Justin Sun, he sounded like an Esalen Institute asset. Now, if you want to go down a funky little rabbit hole, go down that one. With all the prestige behind him and then his rise to fame out of nowhere. It's like every time you see someone come from nothing to something huge, you know they're an excellent asset.
All right, and yeah,
I don't know if I answered your question.
No, I'm a little distracted from what the SEC should be investigating. But I do know when I have an intruder break into my house, I often hang out with him in the foyer with a drink in my hand while in my underwear. Yeah. I think that's a normal thing to do with the home intruder. All
You're
right,
hospitable.
It's just hospitable. All right, William. Do you think that there's maybe a veiled attack on Tether going on here? I mean, there's a lot of Tether exists on the Tron network. And what are your thoughts about Tron and Justin Sun in general?
There could be, right? These lawsuits could be about, disclosure, or it could be something much bigger, Tether. And I'll preface this with another conspiracy theory, because that's, what I'm doing today is part of Kim Kardashian's $1.26 million settlement for shilling Emacs. She agreed to cooperate with the SEC, who was doing ongoing investigations at that time of influencers. So her feud with Lindsay Lohan put a target on Lindsay Lohan's back, and that's why that petty feud spilled over and she was named in this lawsuit. Anyway, okay, that out of the way. It would make sense for them to go after Tether, right? And there could be several reasons for this. Obviously, from a regulatory perspective, again, is we don't know still enough about Tether's operations. There's still a lack of transparency. Does it really hold the sufficient reserves to back up the value of the stablecoin? There's been a lot of speculation and a lot of rumors on that, and they still are circulating. You know that the government wants stablecoins that are operating in the US to be transparent, to be accountable. So there's that. There's also the impact on fiat currency. Stablecoins like Tether are designed to be pegged to the value of fiat currency, i.e. the US dollar. If these stable coins become widely adopted and you use it as a substitute for the coming official stablecoin of the US government, right, our CBDC, then wouldn't that weaken the government's control over their own currency, over the US CBDC? And the US doesn't like competition. So if we are coming out with a central bank digital currency, CBDC, which we know is inevitable, that could potentially be a competitor with the US official digital asset store of value.
Yeah, and if there's one thing they don't like, it's a little competition. Am I right, William?
Right.
I will give it to Chad. There is one, I keep seeing a message. Tron actually does work very well. I haven't used it personally in a long 4 years maybe. But those who do use it, they still like it. It is a cheap way to send some stable coins over. As long as Justin Sun is still going to be around here. Now, it looks like that's our conclusion. Chat really wants Piano Matty B to win. I almost want to give it to you just based off that third discussion. They really enjoyed your hot takes, even though it's not even the country you live in. But Vic ended up squeaking by with 21 points. Vic, actually the same drinking age for our country there. So It's all coming back to Mr. Pelosi. Vic, feel free, take it away. Leave us with some parting thoughts.
Really, only thing to talk about right now is Bitcoin going to hit $1 million in the next 90 days? Maybe, maybe not. Either way, I don't know. I'm on the fence. I'm just want to throw that out there. I got to use that as my platform right now. Everyone in this call right now on ATB, yes or no, is Bitcoin hitting $1 million in the next 90 days?
No. All right, but let us know.
No.
I heard if you hit that like button, those who are watching at home, you will increase the odds. Make sure you go follow everyone's content below. Their links are in the description. On the way, hit that like button. Make sure you're sub to this channel. Go check out all their content. They're all putting out really great stuff. 3 very unique artists in the space, I will call them. Until next time, Biz Squad, DZ out.